angels on the line. The angels on the line. The angels on the line.
What's going on, y'all? This Angel with the Angels Online, and we are here. Season 3, episode, let me say, I think this is what, 8?
Yeah.
8?
Yeah.
Okay. Loving outside of the box, baby. And why we call it loving outside the box? Because we're talking about interracial. In June 1967, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in the favor of Virginia married couple Richard and Mildred Loving. It ended all race-based legal restrictions on marriage, which violated the 14th Amendment, which is why this episode is entitled Loving Outside the Box, okay? A youth, of course, who is biracial, requested this episode to hear about how people deal with it, how they roll with it, the relationships, whether you're a biracial child, that means your parents were an interracial couple, or interracial couples right now, and how they deal with their marriage or their relationship. So we're going to talk about who we got right now with us. We got here at the table to my right. What's your name? Talk to me and how you relate to this topic.
Name's Nick. Dad's black. Mom's white. I'm also a Sean's father.
You know what?
My father. What's up?
We might as well hit.
I haven't seen him in years.
So we got your name. What's your name, sir? On the line. Tell us what your name is. Sir, we talking about you, sir. We got your name. But
okay, all right. I was going, ladies first, but I'll go. Yeah. So my name's Sean. My dad was black. My mom was white. I'm also. So I'm mixed, and I'm also married to a beautiful lady that hails from the Caucasus Mountains, if you will.
Boy. All right. Who else we got on the line?
And that's my father in the studio.
We're going to have a good time with the Angels Online, I'll tell you that much. Daddy. Who else we got on the line? We got Katie. Katie, go ahead.
Hi, yes, I am Katie Platt. And I am in an interracial relationship. My significant other is black.
Wonderful. Katie Platt. She is in an interracial relationship, and her significant other is black. Okay, African American. However you want to put it, understand it. And then on our Zoom, who we got on our Zoom?
You got Sierra.
All right.
I am black, and
that's clear. We see you on Zoom.
My is white. And I have a biracial daughter.
All right, husband's wife. You have a biracial daughter. Wonderful. That's what I'm talking about. So we see right now what we looking at, what we got, who we got on the episode, how they relate. I'm Angel, of course, your host. This is Kaylee sitting across from me out here. She might chime in and ask some questions. This helps with what she does actually as a professional. So we actually gonna get right into it. I'm going to ask you guys because you're dating. Would it be easier to date someone within your own race, Sierra?
I think it just kind of is based off of what you define as easy. Dating him was probably like the least stressful relationship I had ever been in.
Okay.
And I don't really think that actually had anything to do with his race or my race. I think it was just at the point that we were both at in our life. It's not without its hardships, obviously, but on a certain level, I think that at the time that we both started dating each other, I don't really think the race card played an issue as far as like difficulties within the relationship.
Can we get somebody to chime in on that? What do you think? Katie, let's get that from Katie. Katie, what about you?
So I can't particularly say I think it would be easier to date someone who's white, but I can definitely say that having a biracial relationship,
Hold on, Katie, your phone is going in and out.
Hold on.
All right, no problem.
Are you there?
There we go. Oh, that's perfect. Go ahead. Tell us right now. Go
Okay.
ahead.
So I don't actually think that dating in my own race could have made it easier or less problematic. I do agree with what was said earlier, but I can say there are different challenges and barriers. For example, my significant other's from East St. Louis, and the way that he grew up was significantly different than the way that I grew up. But I don't think that specifically always has to do with race. You know, you can have just different upbringings, in different cultures, for just even different areas of the United States, and still be the same race. So it's kind of true. It's what you're willing to work through, and in what stage of your life that, and how understanding you are, and accepting of the differences in between you each.
Okay, Sean, you're biracial, but you're married to a white woman, so you got two sides to you, okay? So, what do you think about that, Sean?
Hey, well, I mean, me personally, I don't think that I really don't. I mean, I don't think race. I haven't really experienced hardly anything in terms of just my interracial relationship. I mean, I've dated plenty, and I think it just has to do with the experiences you're going through as you grow up in the home, and then obviously like what you experience firsthand, and in the cultures that you surround yourself with or grow up in, because ultimately that's going to shape like who you are and how you see the world or whatever. So me personally, I haven't experienced a lot of, people looking at me side eye or whatever. I mean, I think we're just in a different time now. People are more to themselves about that type of stuff. I mean, I will say, like, whenever we got engaged, there was someone that my wife knew that, like, she hadn't really talked to this guy, but he had messaged her. He felt the need to message her, and while he was congratulating her, he felt the need to say that that he felt that she should date within her own kind. So there's still that type of stuff. People just view the world differently. So I've seen some of that here and there, but like for the most part, I don't know if race has really kind of played a big role in how we're treated, or how we progress through life. It's more. I mean, the battle is more, and I say battle, but it's more about just her experiences, my experiences coming together as one, and like learning each other's mannerisms and things that she's okay with, I'm okay with, or that she has issues with, or whatever, and kind of growing through that as the relationship goes on, versus like, hey, because you white, you're doing this or whatever. Like, we just don't look at the world through those lenses, so it's hard to really talk to it outside of maybe here and there where I've actually experienced things that are race driven. So
I love those responses. Look at you. Sean do know something. We thought he was slow, y'all, but we were going to allow we allowed him the opportunity.
Look, I'm gonna let you know. Y'all thinking outside the box. I mean, what about all the people in the triangles and the circles? What about that?
You know what? We gonna even Nick.
I'm looking for a sound effect, but I ain't got it.
I don't know. I ain't got one.
I want the wah wah wah.
See if I can. Do that for Sean.
Stay in that triangle, brother.
Nick, what about you? You've dated. Has it been? Talk to me. Because you're biracial as well, like Sean.
I need what's the direct question?
Is it easier? Like, would it be easier to date someone because you ain't got no race because you biracial?
All right.
You know,
so
how has it been dating white or black? You know.
I lived in New York for 9 years.
Come on, talk to us.
In New York, if you were to see me walking down the street, you're probably gonna assume I'm Dominican or Puerto Rican.
Yes.
And in New York, I mostly dated Spanish women.
Boom.
So I don't know. It's not easier to date either race. It's just
who you interested in.
It's whoever's interested in you, whoever you're interested in. Like, I'm looking this way, talking to the mic. Yeah, it's just. It's not easier. It's just like when you're talking about relationships, you're talking about feelings and
right.
There isn't black people feelings or white people feelings.
Right. Come on. That's what we talk about on Ladies Online. That's right. Yeah. People just have emotions. That's what it's about. Life circumstances. I've dated a white guy, and hell, it was normal. I didn't look at no color. I know for a fact I was in a club and we were just dancing because he had rhythm, and you know what? It was in Orlando, Florida, and this white guy, he
wasn't two-stepping you?
Hey, nah, he was two-stepping. He was jamming. he had, and you know what? It was like a country club, but they was playing hip-hop music, and the guy I was dating, he had rhythm. Like, you know what I'm saying? He was white, but he looked Puerto Rican, right? This is Florida now, Orlando. But we were in, I forgot the name of the club that we were in, but this white guy, we were dancing together, and this white guy tapped him and was like, hey, you stop that around here. He turned around and was like, what? I said, man, don't even worry about it. But that, like Sean said, when someone sent his wife, fiance at the time, a message and said, I feel like you should date within your own kind. Like, this guy, he felt some type of way because we're dancing. But you can sense that the way he was looking at it or whatever. So that's unfortunate. Nick, you had something else to chime in and say?
I will say that I've had a couple of instances where I've been in a relationship with a white woman, and there are a couple of things like privilege is probably the biggest issue that is going to come up in anything when you're dealing with relationships and race, whether it's a white guy or any person. And there are things that I am very, very I try to be aware of my privilege because I don't look quote unquote black.
Right.
So I try to keep my privilege in check as much as I can. And there's a lot of people I've dated a couple girls where just the privilege is just not you're not aware of what you can just do because you're white.
Yeah.
And one of those I'm very conscious of that. So that has been an issue before.
Wow. Thank you everybody for sharing those. Do you believe most families reject or accept interracial couples? And you can talk about your own personal experience because that's what we talk about on Angels Online. And we'll go with anybody. Like Sean, what about your family? The few people you have in your family. How were they with your relationship? Did your mom have any issues with it or?
No, I mean, like my family and her family, for the most part, everyone, her family, they grew up around a whole bunch of different ethnicities. There was a Hispanic community that was heavy when they were living in Cimarron. So a lot of their kind of upbringing was very culture exposing, where it wasn't just all white people. Now we live in an area where it's predominantly white, but through her upbringing, they've been around a bunch of different people, so they've been exposed to the different cultures and how people act and the different kind of qualities that different ethnicities kind of bring to the table. So from my wife's perspective, she loves everybody,
right?
And her mom and her family were very open to me, and I think it's just because they're not looking at, that's not something that's top of mind for for them.
Wonderful.
Because they just grew up with kind of just being open to everything. And then my family, I mean, we pretty much get along with everybody. Like I try to, everybody has their own experience and their own things that they bring to the table, and that's the beauty of just having a whole bunch of different people from different cultures and ethnicities and stuff. I mean, because everyone has a unique perspective, and it's good to see that and absorb that as you go through life. But I mean, everything was open, everyone was accepting, and it's just, no one looked at it that way, and it was just like, is this a good guy? Is this a good girl? Is he treating you right? How do you like her? It's more like feeling based, and does she mesh with me and whatnot? And just, how it is. You get in a relationship, you start meeting the family members, and for them, you start building relationships that way, and as long as everyone has an open mind,
good.
It's just about growing those relationships along the way. So I mean, I didn't really experience anything that was like, oh no, Sean. I mean, because I'm mixed, right? So, and I know y'all can't see me, but like kind of to Nick's point, I can't tell you. I mean, I've been invited to a Hispanic club, and people thought I was Middle Eastern, and then I'm Italian, and so I'm like this smorgasbord of just, man, what are you type of thing in terms of just questions I've been asked like throughout my life, and it's like so. And I don't know what the desire is for people to like know, what are you mixed with, type of deal, but.
Cause you can't dance, you can't bachata, you ain't salsa.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm a look caramel, but so I don't know. So maybe people just don't, view me like they would if I was like, darker skin pigment or what have you. But I never really experienced anything, and honestly, even outside of that, I just haven't. I mean,
so her family like you is what you're saying?
I mean, they love me,
Oh my God, Sierra!
Day one.
We don't get it. We done with Sean. Sierra, tell us about Kevin. How's his family been receptive to you? How has been your family been receptive to Kevin's family? Vice versa.
Well, they were obviously not surprised because I was not the first black girl he brought home.
Okay.
He only dated, as far as like girls that were serious enough to bring home, he only dated girls of color. So Spanish.
It was on a cancer site.
Hold on, Katie. Katie, we can hear you. Go ahead, Sierra.
So his high school was he was the minority. Like white people were the minority when he went to high school.
Gotcha.
So that was just what he was immersed in. That was what he was attracted to. So they were not surprised at all. I wouldn't say my family was surprised because all of my cousins at that time, most of them at that time, were all not by design, but were dating outside of their race. Like I have a cousin, his husband is white. I have another cousin, her first husband was white. So they had experiences with other family members bringing home someone of a different race before we actually introduced Kevin to the family.
Gotcha.
So it wasn't a shock. However, they took really easy to him. He fits in really well. Obviously you've met him a lot. So,
that's a man.
He's very quiet. He's very reserved. But he obviously he can kind of fit in with any type of crowd. And there wasn't and has never been any type of backlash, pushback regarding our relationship, especially from his family side. Like I never had to experience that with them. We only had I don't even know if I want to call it an issue, because I wasn't really involved in it, but they had a difference of opinion when it came to a political issue dealing with Donald Trump at the time, and he just kind of had to snap and be like, you guys need to understand, your granddaughter who you love
right
is not viewed the same in this world. I understand that you guys just see her and she's your grandbaby, but you guys need to understand that she is not a separate entity from the other black people that you see in the world. So that's still, you know what I'm saying? You still have to, you can't disassociate her from that. So any views that you have to include, your family is black is literally what he told them.
Right.
Your family that you love is black. So you guys have to keep that in mind when you guys are expressing these opinions. And since then, never had it.
Wonderful. I love it. Katie, what about you and your relationship? How's your family accepting? Are they accepting?
Y'all are very blessed, is all I can say.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, I
My family was complete opposite in that my family was always accepting of black people and loved black people. One of my best friends growing up, he went to high school with Rhonda and I. He lived in our home all the time. But the minute that I decided to incorporate that as my man and into my life, I met him, the whole world turned upside down.
Your current boyfriend right now?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh wow. So
they
go ahead.
They were like, we don't want you to have mixed children. We don't want you to, you're going to grow up with more, you're going to have difficulties in your life. And, pretty much were completely against it. I ultimately didn't end up speaking to my parents for years, like 6 or 7 years due to it.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Oh no.
So it was a crazy situation for sure, where I had to choose what I felt was right over, a relationship with them.
And what about his family?
Oh, his family was accepting. Yeah, his family, they didn't care. He has other family members within his family who have dated outside their race. So it was something that was accepted, and, they had already experienced some of those, things that could create different aspects within a relationship. And so they were, already acclimated to that.
Wow.
Hey, I got a question. Your parents, do you have because you mentioned there was a decent gap of time where you guys weren't on speaking terms or whatever. How does that look now? Is it in the same spot, or have you guys kind of come to resolution on that relationship, or how does that look?
So, not to sound extremely religious, but I actually heard a speaker at the church I was attending at one time on forgiveness, and it really hit me that it was necessary that I would forgive them, even though they would never take ownership of the things that they had said and done that created the hardship.
Jesus.
Right.
And so I chose to call my mom and say, can I meet with you? And it was like, I forgive you for the things that you have said and done, because I have to release that weight off of my life. I don't need to own that and walk with that forever. And so there's never been ownership in any part, but we do come around the family, and, we are, more active in being around and things like that. But quite often he chooses to not come around due to some of those, first, lack of ownership, but two, just the environment that it can create at times.
I mean, knowing that you were talked about like that, you know what I'm saying? You don't want to sit in an environment where you're not wanted, or the mentality behind your presentation just being in that house is probably them thinking you're toxic, or, oh my God, our babies. They're looking at you a certain way because they already believe that they don't want biracial children, and you're going to struggle in life. So it's, and that goes with what I was going to ask about what influence do personal beliefs or culture have over interracial relationships. And what you just said is exactly a bias and a personal belief that they have because he's African American. You're going to struggle in life and all this while you with him, you having biracial kids. And yet we're looking at Sierra on the screen, who has accepting family on both sides and who's not struggling in life and everything is good. So for them to have that bias, that idea, that judgment that they're putting on. And then Nick said earlier, as I'm listening, I'm tying everything together, and Nick said earlier, it's that privilege that you're not aware of, or either you fail to even attempt to be aware of because you have a lack of empathy or lack of care for anything else.
Absolutely.
So, so that was my next. What influence do personal beliefs have? That's just one. Does anybody have another anything else to say about that? What influence do personal beliefs or culture have over interracial relationships? If not, we can move on because I mean that was a personal. That was literally a perfect example right there. Ooh.
Yeah, it's kind of rough, and I'll just speak generally, but like, I mean, you sometimes you don't even know how people feel until you put yourself in a situation, and then come to find out, how could you date another race or whatever. I mean, it's like you don't even view them or realize that until you're in a position where you're exposed to it, and then you see people for maybe come to understand how people really feel. I mean, it's so sometimes you don't even know until you're in the situation, which is which is crazy.
It's very interesting when you see people that that put on for like, we like I can't remember her name, but her family was like, we love black people, like he's great, he's your best friend. But then when you really put something in her face, they're like, yo, this is like, I'm dating him, like, then you're like, oh, this is what it really is. And I've had the same thing with like my dad raised us. My dad was a hippie, and my mom was a little more straight laced, but my dad was a hippie, so he was like, everyone, doesn't matter who it is, you're just like, you're a person. Not that there's no color in the world, but like my dad was like, he's a hippie or whatever. So like just be inclusive of everyone. So like I would have friends that were gay, and then you hang out with your other friends and you bring your friends together, and then these friends are like, yo, like, why are we hanging out with this person? And it's like, what do you mean? What do you mean?
Right.
Why what do you mean? Like, you're cool, right? You're all right with that? And then they're like, yeah, but like they're not, because it's in front of their face now. That is,
and you put them on the spot.
Like when you're putting the door, like you like open and look behind the curtains, and it's like, yo, this is how they really feel. That's super interesting, and it happens a lot within, like dating and just any kind of time that you mix different kind of people together. It's really
it really comes out when you put them, and then you really expose them. You really expose them, and then that becomes a message to you, like, do you really want to be around this person? So this is how this person is. But like you just said, when you ask your friend, like, I mean, what you mean? What you mean? There's a problem in society where people are not checking one another. They're not checking their family members. They're not saying, hey man, that's wrong, and they just sitting there and they're allowing it, when in the back of their mind they're like, man. But the moment something happens that's not related to that, it's like, oh, okay, they struggling with this situation over here, but it's gonna be that person that you don't like that come and saves you. You're so worried and focused on this one aspect of their life that you're judging, or you just feel like it's not appropriate or doesn't fit you, and you don't even know why. It's because you're listening to other people around you, and then something happens to you and you feel upset because people lack empathy for what you're going through. But you're picking and choosing what you feel should have emotions behind it. And people do that all the time.
It happens a lot with mental health, where people are like, oh yeah, like depression's a real thing, but as soon as like somebody's like lazy or sad or doesn't want to do anything, they're like, come on, what the fuck, like let's go. And like, no, this person's depressed, they don't want to do that. Like, it happens a lot with mental health. It's like when people really like get something put in their face that they're not used to, and you see how they react, it's very interesting.
Children, when people have children who are born with disabilities, they see these disabilities and they make fun of this stuff or whatever, and then it happens to them and they're like, oh my God. And now it's like, what do they say? What do people say when they go through a situation? They're like, man, I ain't never think it would happen to me.
Never say never.
And now they feeling all, and they be like, man, I used to talk about this, and I used to do that. I used to, blah blah blah. It's like,
it's a lot easier to post something on social media and Instagram, but like when it really like brass tacks comes and you have to support a marginalized group of people like that you're supporting online, and you just fail to show up. I feel like that happens more than not. Everybody's quick to put up like a free Palestine, but like they'll when
it come time to do that work,
Yeah.
there's a lack of work being put in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boots are not on the ground.
Come on, you know what to say.